You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Rob. Carlos. Sorry.
We are Robless today.
Yes, Robless. Yes.
Robless. Look, there's no Rob here today. The studio is empty. It is just me, myself, and I.
Just means that Tom from Florida is going to call tonight.
Usually, you know what? When Rob's not here, something spectacular happens. But who are we?
Usually
we are the Beans and Dice podcast. We are a podcast about how we game. Thursday nights, it's all about how you game. We take your phone calls to talk to you about what you've been up to gaming-wise and just share our gaming lives with you. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Carlos.
I'm Wayne.
And let's get it going. You know what? We'll just open up these phone lines today. We'll just get it cracking. Right now, I'm going to open up that phone line. 813-618-7099 is the number. Got to throw people off because they're going to expect it to be later. But I've got no primer today. We're just going right into it.
Yeah. Talk about random stuff, and then hopefully some people call in and save us from our own ramblings.
And phone lines are open. 813-618-7099. We got folks in the comments already. And calls coming in.
There you go.
Is it how this works? It's a call-in show. It's how it works. Beans and Dice podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
This is Ron from Atlanta.
What? Oh, look. Oh, hang on. Look, check it out. I'm repping. Look.
Well, I got you on the. Well,
You don't see me. I'm wearing your shirt, Ron. I'm wearing your shirt. Maybe I predestined this early phone call.
perhaps you did. So it's kind of funny. I got to say, first of all, hold on a second here. I had a thought that, I had half a thought. Maybe I should just try to get on the show, get on the show. But I thought I had second thoughts about that.
All you got to do is message me. That's it. Just message me. You're on. The link is on the way.
Maybe I'll do that in some future show. We'll see. But hey, man, I mentioned last week, this weekend is Atlanta Game Fest. I know Silbo is also this weekend. But Atlanta Game Fest, which is local to me because I'm in Atlanta. Actually, the venue is 18 minutes away from my house. It's fantastic. So I only went there for a few hours today. But I got in one game, and that game was Return to Dark Tower.
I saw pictures on our Discord.
Yeah, I have never. That's my first play. Now, let me tell you something about how I felt about Return to Dark Tower. These games that are really expensive and stuff, I tend to shy away from them because I'm that's just plain ridiculous. It's just how I feel. If a game is significantly over $100 these days, I'm like, what am I getting? Well, so my first impression of Dark Tower, now admittedly, this guy had a blinged up copy. Even from that, paying up minis, bought some other extra stuff and everything like that. And let me tell you, that was a fantastic experience.
Really?
Yeah.
This is the 80s game, and I think is it Restoration Games that redid this?
Yeah.
Restored it, brought it back.
Added to it.
Still, did they add to it, or did they keep all the old mechanisms?
I have no idea.
They always add a little something to the games. They didn't just bring back Fireball Island as is. They added to it. So they definitely added some more game mechanisms to the original Dark Tower, but they had the same idea of a mechanical tower that's going to randomly spit out things around the land that, corrupts the land and things like that.
Yeah, and I felt like I was playing an epic fantasy game. And, with amassing armies and equipment and stuff. And I felt like it was very reminiscent of Lord of the Rings. Just in the scope. So If folks don't know what it is, it's a restoration of that classic back from the early '80s, where you have basically you have this electronic tower with flashing lights and everything like that, spits out stuff, and you'll have a random big bad villain and like his minions that spread throughout the different lands, and you're playing individual heroes, and your goal is to amass armies, treasures, and allies to take on that villain in the climactic battle. And let me tell you, like, when I had like basically 150 armies worth of tokens, like it's a handful of tokens, like I felt like this was, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the production value. Yeah, it probably was the production value. And I didn't, it's an app-based game. So like there are cards, quote unquote, in the game, but they're just all on the app, right? Like, so I'm not manipulating anything physically except for, my inventory and moving the minis around. But I'm not like, I don't have a deck of cards or dice that are resolving anything like that. And maybe that helps with the immersion and everything like that. But I felt like it was a really immersive experience. And so, I was pleasantly surprised. I probably would have I know that I probably would have enjoyed the game regardless. But like, I came away with a higher impression of the game than I expected to.
So for the price tag of the game, it is a little pricey because it's got this giant mechanical app-driven thing in the center.
Christian Adventure Gamer from Indiana.
Indiana, app-driven.
Did confirm it is app-driven?
Yep, and they added to it. What's the replayability of this, you think? Is it, the randomness of the tower that makes it more replayable, or is there a lot more scenarios in it? Like, what do you think about the replayability of the game?
Well, so from what I've seen, you have several big bads to choose from and several various levels of minions. And so like you can either hand pick the big bad and the minions, or you can randomize, or you can do a mix of both. Like I hand picked the minions, but I randomized the big bad. And I could totally see how you could match the big bad to the minions and make it like an even more thematic experience. So I think there's a lot of replayability. And plus there's now, I understand that one expansion already out, and there's a second expansion that's delivering like this month. Right.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that I almost wanted to back. It's like, of all the games that Restoration has done, this was the one I was like, I never even had this as a kid. None of my friends had it as a kid. We had Crossbows and Catapults, and we had Fireball Island and some of the other games that they've redone. So I was like interested in that. But like this one, I'm like, I never even played the original. It was never like on my wish list as a kid. So it's like, I never got into this one. But now I'm hearing you say it and Christian Adventure Gamer talking about it. I'm like, man, maybe I should have backed this one, because I ended up not even backing Crossbows and Catapults when they finally did it, because I already had the other one, the other company, Vesuvius, that did the oh my god, I can't think of the name of it now, but the other Crossbows and Catapults like game that they came out a year before Restoration. So, but anyway, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, I almost want to give us the beans on it, but the guys that I have this game set up tomorrow and Saturday. Now it took us 3 hours to play through the game.
Oh wow!
But like I want. Yeah, but it was 3 hours. And it was two players. It's co-op. You could play it competitively as well. I only played it co-op my first time, so maybe that colored my experience. But I'm gonna give it another shot here this weekend, and
then you'll be ready to give it the beans.
Yeah.
Kyle from Chicago wants you to give it the beans. He was chatting it. He was chanting, give it the beans, give it the beans.
Although he put give it the beans, not giveth the beans.
Hey, he's from Chicago. I'll let it slide.
All right.
You say idea and I don't kick you off the show. I say
I know. Figures. That's cool. Now, do you think the 3-hour playtime that you had, was it like first couple of people, first time you're playing it, you're at a con, it's gonna take longer than normal, or you think it is like a 2 to 3 hour kind of epic game that it's gonna be that kind of experience most of the time?
It's gonna be. I played with one other guy, the owner of the game. This was a 2-player game, and there are decisions to make, but it is a long game. It's not like it's not Twilight Imperium long, but it's definitely War of the Ring long. So I felt like, except you have a cooperative mode instead of just being strictly competitive.
Oh, and you played cooperative with the other guy? Or okay.
Yeah, I played cooperative with the other guy. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, which I think was, I don't know if I want to play it competitively.
Yeah, it seems like it would be better. Like it's more of like, it would attract a D&D type player where if 3 or 4 of you are playing and it's you all versus the tower. That's part of like why Mansions of Madness is so fun, because it's me and my wife and my friends against the game. So it's
with the app, and I know people will poo-poo the app. For me, that just adds a piece where I don't have to manage the AI. That's huge. That's less brain power used. I can focus on beating the game versus managing the AI.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you played any of those app-driven games that Fantasy Flight has now. It's on that level, except you're not even like rolling dice or like in Lord of the Rings: Traders of Middle Earth, managing that mini deck that you have, where you have the deck building and all that kind of stuff. You don't even have that much to it. It's just managing your resources that you acquire. So
very nice.
There's randomness, and yeah. So it's
that price point, like you said. Experience. That price point is what kept me from even looking at it.
Yep. If there was I'm not going to give it the entire beans, but that's an in. That's definitely in the in.
Yeah.
Especially with your whole shtick being affordable gaming, like that's your shtick.
Kind of defeats that purpose, right? I tell you what, though, sorry, Ron. I was gonna say the figures that we're seeing, it even look like some of these are unpainted. Man, those look really good. They look like really good figures, though.
Yeah, they look. Yeah, they are. It's a very well put together game. So that was the thing I wanted to talk about tonight.
Well, listen, I'm getting up early tomorrow. As soon as I finish the show here, I got to get some clothes out the laundry, pack up, because I'm headed to your stomping grounds. That's why I'm wearing your shirt tonight, because I know I'm heading up to the ATL for the weekend. I'm going to be in Brazelton for the 10-hour race, Petit Le Mans, which has been going on since like the 50s or 60s in Atlanta, Road Atlanta, which is just northeast of Atlanta. When I hear that you got gaming going on in that area, right? I'm in that area, Brazelton, northeast, of Atlanta. What's there gaming wise? Gaming stores that I can pop in? Where are you going to be?
Brazelton, you say? Well, I'm not going to be at the gaming store because I'm going to be at the Atlanta Game Fest, which is in the Hilton Atlanta Northeast, which you can buy a day badge, by the way, walk in. But if you want to go to a game store and you're in Brazelton, you want to go to Meeple Madness.
It's Meeple. I was going to ask, because I remember Meeple Madness showed up on the Dice Towers video, right?
Level Up showed up.
No, Level Up. Okay, Meeple Madness is the one in near Brazelton?
Yes. And let me tell you, like, no shade to Level Up. That's a fine store. It's a great store. It's a big store. Meeple Madness that's the store. Like that, like just the lighting, the atmosphere, the knowledge and the skill, the courteousness of the staff. Um,
I'm gonna
You gotta-
I'm
you
gonna
gotta-
bring this shirt with me. I'm gonna wear this shirt tomorrow, and I'm gonna walk in there when we get there tomorrow, and we're like, Ron Fraser sent me. Ron, listen to this episode. Ron
they'll know
Fraser
me. I'm
sent me.
regular.
We'll find out whether they kick you out or let you in.
I'm bringing my copy of Heat with me tomorrow. Yeah, that's gonna be hilarious. Ron Fraser, you say? Oh, get out. I'm bringing my copy of Heat. I'm gonna meet up with my cousins and his wifey. We're gonna get some board games played at his place. I'm bringing Heat up there to teach, and I'm also bringing Heat to play it during the race at Road Atlanta, so I can have pictures of me playing one of my new favorite racing games at Road Atlanta.
Of course you are. That'll be cool.
It
I'm
does bring home
Can't
the
wait for
theme.
those pictures.
How far is the Hilton Atlanta Northeast from Brazelton?
From Brazelton, I would say it's about 20 minutes.
That's not too bad.
Atlanta
can
Game
hear-
Fest is an open game convention. So there's no
Well, because you had mentioned
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
Frenchie was going to be there, and I didn't realize he was going to be there
Yep.
too. We've had Frenchie on the show, so I've always wanted to shake a hand with Frenchie. So I gotta look to see how I can squeeze in. We're going to be there Sunday morning, and then driving down Sunday afternoon back to Tampa to be home Sunday evening. So that gives me Sunday
Oh.
morning.
Oh, okay. Sunday. Okay. For the show, for the store, you're gonna be in Brazelton on Sunday.
Well, Friday night, Saturday, and
Okay.
Sunday. Saturday is going to be
Okay.
all racing all day long. We got go-karts
Okay.
planned. We've got watching the race. It's a 10-hour race, y'all. Listen, if you ever done an endurance race, you don't sit and watch all of it. You enjoy the festivities, the start of the race. You take a break, go ride some go-karts, go eat some carny food, and then go back to the race. It's kind of like an all-day event. But then Sunday, we're going to be in Brazelton and head out for Sunday afternoon, head back to Tampa.
Got it. All right.
All right, homie. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna see what I can do with what I got. I will be not 20 minutes from you tomorrow, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who
it's got to
knows?
be like a
Who
Waffle
knows
House
if
you guys
it's
can meet up
Waffle
at, right?
Dude, I'm gonna hit every Waffle House between here and Hotlanta. Like, listen,
Nah.
the rest of my family isn't big on Waffle House, but my
No.
son, who's into racing, he and I, whenever we go camp and race, he and I will hit every Waffle House we can. So like, this is our trip. Like, it's smothered, covered, it's everything. It's gonna be great.
I'd be hitting up at Zaxby's.
9 hours in the car with my buddy Mikey after having some chili covered eggs and hash browns. It's gonna be great.
I bet it will.
Good night, Ron.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
See ya.
Here,
It's Ron Fraser from Hotlanta.
there you go.
We
Yeah,
got
good stuff.
some activity in the chats. You want to check that
Yeah,
out?
I like it. Yeah. Looks like Christian Adventure Gamer said that he's maybe has a playthrough of Dark Tower on his channel. So if you guys want to check that out, that might be good.
Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Chris from Austin.
Chris from Austin, aka Captain America.
That's right, Captain Gamer.
Captain Gamer on the Discords. Hello, I got your message today asking about Shelfie Stacker.
Okay.
I have not procured a copy of Shelfie Stacker. I'm still, just to answer your question, I'm still like on the edge. Like that is not like it's not like Footsteps of Darwin, right? It's not like that game for me. When you describe Footsteps of Darwin, that was like an instant buy.
Yeah.
Shelfie Stacker has been kind of I kind of want that if it's right. And every time I've reached out to a vendor or someone who's selling it, it tends to be a used copy. It tends to be in that $40 range plus like $15
Yeah.
of shipping. And I'm like, I just can't pull the trigger that hard. Like there's a couple games this
Yeah,
month that really have my attention. Number one is going to be Quartermaster General, the 2-player version
Okay.
called East Front. And then number two is going to be Osprey Games General Orders, a World War II worker placement game. I mean, that doesn't sound awesome.
Oh yeah, that's right up your alley too. Like those are the kind of games you really like. So yeah, you know what you like, you go for that. If you have to choose between something you like and something that's you're unsure of, right?
Which I'm not
Go with the
unsure about
sure
Shuffy
thing.
Stacker. I'm not unsure about Shuffy Stacker.
Yeah.
It's just like I've got Azul, right? I know I've got things like it. So if it comes up and it's the right fit, it's coming. So there's my answer to the question you shouted out. How are you, Chris?
Absolutely. Doing great. And on the heels of that, I mean, I've been enjoying this game I wanted to talk about tonight. It's called Namiji by Anton Bauza, designer of Takedo, Seven Wonders. Have you guys played it? Have you guys heard of it? I put it in the Discord recently.
Yeah,
I
that
saw
was
the
they
pictures.
kickstarted that, didn't they?
Correct. Yeah.
Isn't that a remake of?
It's a kind of like a re-implementation of like
re-implementation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Takedo reimagined is how I like to think of it, but it's got a theme of fishing, and my son really likes fishing, so I knew he would like it, so I got it to play with my son, and then I played with my wife, and she really liked it, and I played it twice, and then I introduced it to a couple friend of ours. We played it with them. They really liked it. So it's just becoming a hit everywhere we played it so far, family and friends.
I mean, it's got very similar art. It's the same art as Takedo, basically, just a little colorful. There we go.
And Mike Delicio from Dice Tower gave it an 8 out of 10, so he really enjoyed it. I like it better than Takedo. I mean, I like the theme a lot because you're sailing these boats around and then you're fishing. So, and it's really fun because, so on the heels of Footsteps of Darwin, it has a player board, where you're filling in fish tokens and you're scoring points vertically and horizontal based on if you fill in a column or a row. So it's got that same mechanism where you're scoring points that way. And so I think you guys will really like it. It's fun. It plays fast, easy to teach. It's like 45 minutes with teach. If people are super AP, it might be a little over that, but I'd say 45 minutes with teach.
How many players?
5 players. Your sweet spot.
That's not under an hour and 5 players is hard to find.
Yeah. And I'm really digging it. I gave it an 8.5, so I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the main reason why I didn't back this when I was on Kickstarter was because I have Takedo and all the expansions, and I'm like, how much different is it than Takedo? So you say you're digging it a little bit more than Takedo. What's making it sort of a step up from Takedo for you then?
Outside of the theme.
Well, I think outside of the theme, I like the fact that there's a lot of variety in the cards and how you can score. They have these in-game bonus cards that you can pick up, and they're all these different conditions. And I like in-game scoring as it is. And then nobody knows what you have. It's all secret information. They don't know what you're going for. And then I also, of course, like the same thing in Footsteps of Darwin, where you're filling in columns and rows and you're putting stuff in there for points. I like that puzzle. It's almost like a mini game within a game. And I really enjoy that as well. So those are 2 things that stand out for me.
Nice.
There's a mini expansion, which there's a mini expansion with Mike Delicios recommends. And I actually picked that up this week. It came in, and it adds a whirlpool. It adds something to the whirlpool in the middle of the board, where you can get little bonuses when you do your offerings. And I also like the offering tiles are interesting. So you get like minus 16 points if you don't get rid of any of these offering tiles. And then for every one you get rid of, it reduces the negative points you score at the end. If you get rid of all of them, you get 0 negative points. And I like the puzzle of that because there's only so many spots on the board. And so you're having to balance, hey, do I want to get rid of an offering token? And so it's just this little puzzle the whole time trying to figure out how to maximize your points. But with this new expansion, it adds like bonuses when you do offerings. So it's not just getting rid of negative points. If you time the offerings in the right place, you'll get a special ability, a special one-time benefit. And I really like that. And then it also adds wild fish. So instead of having to match the color, what you're having to do is match either the color, same color fish, or same type of fish. And that's how you get points. Well, in the expansion, it adds wilds, which makes it easier to score fish and fish points.
How do you feel about that wild
expansion
mechanism addition? Like, I know Wingspan did that with the is it Nectar? I think is what they called it.
Yeah.
There's a couple different games I can think of with Concordia, added salt, right? There's these like almost like wild resources that you're being added into games to make it easier to meet a criteria. I'm not sure if I'm sold on that idea, because I feel like it takes away a lot of like work. Like things can fall into place.
It makes it slightly less punishing for your not like hardcore gamers, right?
Right.
Yeah. And you can leave it out. I mean, it's one of those things, there's only a handful of wild tokens. You mix in the bag, so you may not even see a wild token for a while. So it's not like you're just going to get a ton of wilds out of it. Where the Nectar and Wingspan, you see that a lot more often. You're not going to see wild all the time in this one, because I think there's 5 or 6 wild tokens that it adds. And then you just mix it in this big bag with tons of fish tokens. So you're not going to see them that often. So I'm okay with it for that reason. But if you want, it's modular, right? You can just leave that out and then just use the extra cards they give you, which I'll explain what the cards do in a minute, or just use that little middle whirlpool replacement, which makes the game more interesting on the offerings.
Oh, maybe I'm just hurt because my wife used the wild tag to beat me in Terraforming Mars. To beat me to the builder achievement. So maybe I'm just a little hurt. Maybe it's just me.
Show me on the
I'll pray for you on that, Carlos.
Yeah, but light a candle for a brother.
Yeah. Now it looks like there's like it looks like just like Tokaido, there's kind of like mosaics, like or like where you're picking the panoramas. Is that's sort of another mechanism in the game? Okay.
That's similar. And then you get like a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 point. Well, the dolphins go up to 3. Octopus go up to 4, the whales go up to 5. But then if you're the first person to complete a panorama, you get a 3-point bonus card.
Yep. That's
there's a race to try to complete it. Yeah, and that's similar. And that's but I enjoy it. I don't like the only complaint I have about the game is the component quality on those panorama cards. It's like it's paper. They literally just made it paper. So I actually sleeve them because I'm like, if I don't sleeve these, they're going to get torn up over time. They're very poor quality, but the cards are great quality, and everything else, the board, everything else in the game, the tokens are all great quality except for that. So, but it's a $30 game. I mean, I saw it on sale this week. I saw it on sale for 30. I think it was 28 on one website. What was it? Miniature Market has a sale this week. I think it was $28. I got it for 32. I think.
I still think I still think Chris is an industry plant. He's hawking for big gaming. He's a lobbyist for big gaming.
He gets a cut of all the games he sells.
I'm not. I'm an IT by trade, so.
Aaron, as I call him, from Ohio, says huge fan of Tokaido and Namiji.
Okay, cool.
And I trust Aaron. He was one of the early callers into the show.
Nah, and I'll say this: I really do love Tokaido. Like my wife and I, my family, we've played it a ton. But often a complaint of Tokaido is really in the track that you move. You the furthest back always goes first, right? But like really, you never really skip spaces. You always just move to the space, the closest space available. Take what you can get, and if you just do that, you're gonna do pretty well, right? In Tokaido, is this any different or okay?
Yeah, it's definitely different. So I played a 4-player game and I played a 2-player game. And in the 4-player game, you definitely don't want to do that because what happens is I think I got rid of like one offering that time. I got rid of one offering and I had a bunch of negative points at the end because everybody kept getting the offerings before me. I couldn't get it unless I skipped ahead. And I was debating, should I skip ahead to get rid of an offering or not? And I wound up having the lowest score of everybody. I was third place. Out of 4, I was third place. Where the first game, I had a huge score in a 2-player game. So, no, it's definitely not that way at all. You definitely want to skip over some spots. Otherwise, you're going to, plus it depends on what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on panoramas, then you're going to go there. If you're not, you're focusing on fishing. You don't want somebody else to get it. And then they have these double fishing tiles. It's called net fishing tiles, where you get 2 fish.
Looks
and
like
I
a
love
domino.
that. Yeah. And this one guy at the table, our friend, he focused on that, and he got every space filled in horizontally and got a whole bunch of points just from fishing. And he kept skipping to those spots. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of times where you really do want to skip. If you don't, you're going to do poorly. And I learned that in my 4-player game. I'm not going to do that again. So
Sounds like a great game group there in Austin that you've developed or you've jumped into. You know, the different titles that you've brought up as games played in your group have really been fun to hear about.
Great. Well, I'm always on the lookout for fun games. I play a lot of heavier strategy games, but then I also have friends that don't really play a lot of board games. So I'm always looking for games that are approachable for them to play, you know, gateway games or what have you. So yeah, I love that. And then I also, for my son, right, he's 6 years old. So I'm looking for games that I can teach him. I would say that he can play games that are like 10 and up pretty easily. I mean, he's definitely a gamer, but at the same time, I can't play heavy strategy games with him, right? He's not old enough for that.
No brass, not yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Soon.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you guys should check it out. Maybe someone in your group can bring a copy if they already have it and introduce it to you guys. I think you would like it.
It's going on the list of desires to play. I know we're talking about Dice Tower Retreat is going to be happening soon, and then Dice Tower East. Actually, Dice Tower Retreat tickets just went on sale. Those tickets went through, but Dice Tower East tickets are going on sale, so we're going to start planning our July trip for that. And they've got that library. I'm certain that these are in the library, so we got to start getting a good list of Chris's recommended.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody in the greater Beans and Dice Tampa Bay area has a copy of this game that we could probably get a hold on. Yeah.
Well, it's I pulled up Amazon. It was $24.99.
What?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's cheap.
we were going to talk about Prime Day as one of the topics tonight.
Yeah.
It's like 46% off. And
there you go.
I got a baby coming in like a month.
Reason to buy.
I got a baby coming in a month.
Yeah.
Like I had to X the page out. Like close it. I know it's a great deal. Just close the page. I got car seats to buy and
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
yeah. Chris, what else you got?
That was my main topic. I don't know what else have you guys been playing that you've not mentioned recently. Are there any games you've been playing recently that you haven't mentioned on the podcast or on Discord?
I've been playing a lot of Scout. Like this was going to be one of the topics to talk about games that we recently played. Been playing a lot of Scout, but I got invited last weekend to my aunt and my uncle's house in Bradenton area. So we drove down there to visit family. My uncle's the one that got me into D&D. He learned D&D back when he was in the Army, but he's not a board gamer. That's not his thing. Neither is my aunt. So I figured, okay, I'm doing what I think Chris would approve here. I picked a title that is gateway-ish, but then theme hits the family. Just like you hit your son with Namiji on the fishing.
Yeah.
My uncle likes to ride bikes. So, Wayne, what do you think I brought with me?
Flamme Rouge?
Flamme Rouge! And it was a hit.
Yeah, the only game that's a bike game.
the only bike game.
It took me a second to figure out like if he was taking motorcycle or bike. I'm like, what do you mean bike is a motorcycle?
Bicycle. I brought Flamme Rouge with me, and first time that I've ever brought a game to my uncle's house to play, and he said, let's do it again. Like it was a full re-rack. I want to play that again, and it was just a solid hit. So as much as I love Heat, you got to give Flamme Rouge its props. And I've seen in Essen a lot of videos of people unboxing that new expansion, which I think is like a full campaign in a box for Flamme Rouge.
Comes with like Tour de France and like several different long stage races. Yeah.
That's something that I think I'm going to try to get a copy of because I tend to see my uncle maybe once a month. we'll once a month, once every 2 months, we'll get together like that. But I can see putting a campaign log in the box and showing up for those family dinners once a month, once every other month, and we just do the next segment, the next campaign setup. So that's what's been on my recent plate here.
Nice. Yeah, I love Heat Pedal to the Metal. I've not played Flamme Rouge, but I know it's the same designer. I play Heat Pedal to the Metal a lot on BGA, just because it's a really good implementation. It's still in beta, but I played it a lot recently on there, and then obviously I own it as well. I played it first, just my copy, but it's a great game. To me, it's the best racing game. I love the replayability of it, all the tracks you get. Getting 4 tracks in one box without even buying an expansion. And then who knows what they're coming out with next and adding more players. And then you can play solo. It's got an amazing solo mode. I mean,
that Automa is great
game.
for Heat.
Man.
That's one of the I think we did the beans on it, and I think that was one of my enjoyments, which was that solo system is, and not even I won't even call it a solo system. I'll call it an AI bot, because the game isn't great at 2 and 3 players because there isn't a lot going on the track, but you fill the other spots that are missing with AI bots. Now the game gets heated. Now there's space to take over. Now there's there's drafting, so it's so much more that bot system adds. So I'm looking forward to playing, which I'm going to Georgia. I'm going to go see my cousin, my uncle's son. And I'm gonna teach him Heat. He's got some buddies that are into board gaming, and he's played board games with me occasionally. So I'm gonna take Heat up there to play in Atlanta with my uncle's son. So my uncle learned Flamme Rouge last weekend, and then this weekend his son is gonna learn Heat.
So now the Heat implementation on BGA is awesome. Actually, I think it just left open beta now. It's a regular playable game. Since all the logic is there for Heat, it should be super easy for them to do Flamme Rouge in BGA, which would be really cool too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to get that campaign, Carlos, and I want to do that. I want to do the whole Flamme Rouge Tour de France.
You got campaign. A copy of it at the flea market, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah, super cheap. I just got to get and I got Peloton too, so I got everything.
Yeah, mine came with Peloton too. I got mine from I think Shimpy. Member of the Beans and Dice group, she was selling a bunch of used games at one point, and I got Heat at the flea market at Dan's flea market. We got them all used.
Kills. I hate that story. I don't know.
$40. Best story ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the story though, Chris. Is we have a bunch of flea markets here in Tampa, and we're going to it, and people are posting in our Discord server and the store's Discord server the list of games that they're looking to sell, and somebody posted their list, and they had Heat, just Heat, not just Pedal the word to the Metal, just Heat, $40, and I was about to be I was about to PM the guy and be like, "Do you mean Heat Pedal to the Metal? If so, I'll take it." And then Carlos pings me going, "I just got Heat Pedal Metal for $40." And I'm like,
no.
And I thought my leg was being pulled. I wasn't sure. I was prepared to get a copy of the 1990 game Heat. Right. It was some horrible game. I was prepared for that. I was mentally prepared for that. It was a risk I was taking. I showed up at the flea market. My buddy Muhammad, he's the one that was handling the exchange. And Mo looks at me and goes, "Nah, man, I got nothing for you." And I was all disappointed. And he goes, "I'm kidding. Here it is." And he hands it over, and I look in the box, and I'm like, "It's Heat. It is. Take your $40 and go."
Wow, that's crazy. Go, congratulations. Well, I got lucky with that because I pre-ordered that game 6 weeks before it released, and I got a really good deal because I got it on a sale, either Miniature Market. I think it was Miniature Market, and I got it for 50. It's 54, I think, on sale, which is for how expensive the retail is. That's a great deal. And I pre-ordered it and got that deal, and then I got it right away. And man, I'm so glad I did because it's in my top 20.
It shot up to the top of my racing games, and really, I think a big part of it is the AI piece, because so many racing games I have a lot of racing games, but so many of them don't have a way to fill in the missing players. And that to me just makes it huge.
It's scalability. It's perfect scalability.
Yeah, I do want to get a couple more plays before I have my final opinion on it because I played it once or twice with just like the base rules, and I'm like, there's not much.
Did you play it with us with the?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
And we played
went
it once,
into the garage and we started adding some upgrades.
We started adding some upgrades. I'm like, okay, I can see something
the
here.
upgrades are fun.
Like, I don't think the base game without any of the upgrades and modules is that great. I think the adding of the modules definitely, and
when you had the asymmetry of the cards,
we drafted some cards, and that really made a big difference. I was like, okay,
and man, I could see running a whole season. Like I could see using the press, right? They have these press corners where if you're doing something cool at the corner, you get some press, and that allows you to get a sponsor, and suddenly you're getting new parts. Like all that just sounds so cool.
Totally, yeah.
Nice.
Chris, thank you so much for calling in and keeping it a call-in show. We from Tampa to Texas. Much love. Thank you.
Same to you guys. Y'all have a good night. I'll keep listening and enjoy the callers that come in later.
All right. Let's
Thanks,
do
Chris.
it.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
It's Chris from Austin calling in, making it a call-in show, folks, because that's what this is. So do your thing and join us. Phone lines open, 813-618-7099 is the number. We're talking board games. We've talked Namiji? Which I think Aaron had a comment on that. Aaron Clark from Ohio.
Yep,
right. Tokaido improved quite a bit with Crossroads expansion. Namiji felt a bit more refined. Complete right out of the box. Great price at $28. I paid $60 plus shipping for the Kickstarter edition.
Yeah, I think the Kickstarter's got some fancier bits to it, but I think actually on Amazon it's like 24 or something, even cheaper than that. I'm like,
right
so
now
tempted.
with the Prime stuff.
The Prime Day. Yeah.
Christian Adventure Gamer, Daniel the Paladin, as he calls himself on his show. He can confirm he's got a 3-hour, 28-minute playthrough of Return to Dark Tower on his channel. So if you want to see what the gameplay is like,
that's some heavy cardboard type stuff.
That is I did not realize that. Okay, so two negatives right off the bat.
Price and length of gameplay.
I don't know. 3 hours. There's only certain games I want to play that are greater than 3 hours.
Yeah, I think this is definitely like I quickly was like regretting not doing the Kickstarter backer based on how many people and how many awards this won. But now that I'm really like rethinking, I'm like, okay, why didn't I back this? One was the price, and two was the gameplay, the length. I think was like, do I really need a 3-hour game? Like, I don't, a 3-hour app-driven cooperative game. I don't know. Not for that price.
You got Mansions of Madness.
Yeah, I got Mansions of Madness and all that, and we love that stuff. So we play the heck out of that. So I can think of a lot
in the chat. Board Game Gumbo says, "Wait, where's Rob and Nick and Dan and Jodak?" Yeah. I'll tell you where they are. They're in Louisiana, in New Orleans, enjoying their prep day for tomorrow's Southern Board Game Festival. Beats and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where you calling from?
Yeah, Daniel the Paladin from Warsaw, Indiana.
You heard your name?
Yeah.
Daniel, how you doing, brother?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, God has been good, man. God is good.
God is good all the time.
All of the time.
Yeah, so like you guys are talking about the Return to Dark Tower and the long playthrough. Like I can tell you, like it doesn't feel like it's that long because you're just so immersed the whole time.
And this is full co-op mode that you're talking about, that, or is it only in competitive mode? Like which one's the better way to play it?
So I haven't actually played it competitively. I've only played it co-op, just because that's the way I like to play those kind of games. But yeah, that was like full co-op, and some of it is like the choices that you're making too. Like you can drag it out, or like you can get your resources and try to complete quests faster.
Now, what's the differentiator? Like, what? Every game is different if they have a co-op mode and a competitive mode for how to win or what makes you the better person at the table. What is the mode for competitive in Return to Dark Tower? How do you win?
So I haven't played it that way, so I'm not quite sure.
Not 100%. Didn't read that part of the rulebook at all.
No, not even. Because I was too busy. Just like I want to sit down, I want to play this right away, and I have friends that.
Well, if you know, throw it in the chats. We'll reach out to the crowdsourcing here to see if the crowd brain can figure it out for us.
But now is basically every play you probably played this a few times now. Is every play 3 hours?
Oh yeah. No. Like I said, like it kind of depends on like how you're able to get resources. It also depends on the boss that you choose, because like events are going to be happening randomly at times, and sometimes that causes some of your like soldiers to be wiped out before you can even use them, and you might need your soldiers to complete other quests or other parts of quests.
Okay.
Now the machine throws like little skulls, right, out of the top or the bottom.
Yeah. So what you do is like throughout, like to end your turn, you will drop a skull into the tower, and sometimes something happens. Sometimes like you'll hear it moving inside, and then it'll tell you to remove a certain glyph. But then later on, if that door is not there, it's open and it turns the right way, skulls can literally fall out of that door. And depending on which region the skulls fall, you will take them and you put them in different locations in that region. And if you have 3 skulls in one location, you add a 4th that destroys it, which then really hurts you because you're kind of like the controller of the region.
Okay.
Now I saw the images of the, I'm assuming, deluxified version that had little cities, little forts like on the board, and I would imagine that would impact, like a pinball machine, where the skulls end up, right? Like they can ricochet off of that or stop by that.
Yeah, well, like they'll bounce around, but it's which side it fell out. That's how they kind of set the rule.
Okay, so it's just about what side. So it doesn't. I'm worried about like the miniatures and the little statues in the cities impacting the mechanics of the game differently than if you didn't have those figures.
Right. Yeah.
Miniatures. Let's use that word.
You said figures right. You didn't,
Did I?
Yeah, you didn't say figures.
It's funny because I said it at work and somebody mentioned that too at work about my use of the word figures.
Yeah. And sometimes some of the events that take place will cause you to possibly destroy a city. Like it could cause you to add another skull to a region that's already got 3, and then boom, it's gone. Like it doesn't even necessarily have to be something that came out of the tower.
So is it kind of like Pandemic, where you get more than 3 plague cubes, it explodes, so like you're kind of basically just resource management or area control, where you're trying to beat back the skulls or beat back the bad guys in certain regions to keep the count low so that it doesn't get overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah. So you are trying to go back to your regions or those locations and clear the corruption. That's what they call it.
Ricochet skulls, says Chester Wilson.
Ricochet skulls.
Yeah, bouncing off of everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, that seems like, and I guess you're playing cards to move your character around and use the abilities of the character. And it's asymmetrical, right? There's like each character has different abilities.
Oh yes, each character is different. Yep.
Cool.
And like you have like different areas that you can unlock of your character. So like you start off with certain skills, but then through gameplay you can unlock more, which allow you to do a lot cooler things. Like I said, it's very immersive.
Cool. I wonder if the Dice Tower has a copy of this in the library.
I don't know. I keep
the
I
app,
keep
the
thinking
batteries.
Castle Panic. I keep like
Yeah.
cooperative. Like I don't know why I see Return to Dark Tower, and I see add $100 to Castle Panic, and boom, like that's Return to Dark Tower. And maybe I'm just oversimplifying it, and it's not a fair comparison.
It's probably the story,
the
app,
yeah.
the immersive, more to it.
Yeah.
Now,
so the tower's interactive too. Like sometimes you'll hear creatures calling out from it, and so like it's not just that it lights up and makes spinning noises, but like it literally you hear sounds coming from it, like werewolves or not werewolves, but wolves howling from it, or other things that are happening.
Because it's kind of like a Bluetooth speaker inside of it. Nice. Now,
Yep.
one complaint I heard, and maybe from the first printing of it or whatever, was it uses like AA batteries, right? Or it's like not rechargeable. Yep. It's not like a rechargeable like USB thing. It's AA batteries. How long do they last? I heard the complaint of like you need rechargeable batteries and it burns batteries really quickly or anything like that. Have you seen?
A 3-hour game with the tower being on the whole time.
On
straight.
the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, if you can get a device to run off of, AA batteries for 3 hours, I think are pretty good regardless, right?
Yeah. I think
that is kind of old school. The fact that it's
like,
running off of old, like regular
old
batteries.
It's like I think it was oh my god, Dice Tower book guy from Connecticut. My brain not working right now. From
oh my god, how am I missing this?
Up. Right,
Eric Summer.
Eric Summer, thank you. My God, I am horrible with names. Like it's my biggest thing about
you knew his address.
Yeah, I could.
How long he's been married, the names of his kids.
No, but I remember he talked about how like he went out and bought like a bunch of rechargeable AA batteries because as they played it, they would.
Wait, time out. This is an Eric Summer like approved title. Like even he likes it.
I don't know if he liked it. I remember him talking about it either on like the Dice Tower Tonight podcast or one of those things. He talked about how like it burned batteries quick to the point where it was like you went out and bought old like rechargeable AA's because like he would go through several sets in a one sitting or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I've been through a couple of plays with not changing batteries, so wonder what kind of brands he's buying.
Yeah, maybe he's buying the cheap batteries. Who knows? But
all right, so I was watching a lot of your Gen Con content.
Energizer or Duracell.
Yeah.
Daniel, I was watching a lot of your Gen Con content that you had on the show. You got yourself a lot of Lorcana there. It's a couple months now, right? You've had it. I know Ron Fraser has gotten into it and has been playing some locally, some competitive stuff locally. Did it get its hooks in you, Lorcana? Where are you at with your relationship with Lorcana?
So I play it every once in a while. I bought a booster box when I was at Gen Con, so I had to stand in line for like 3 hours to get it, which I'm not even going into that. But like getting it outside of Gen Con no regrets. But like outside Gen Con, like it's hard to get, and if you do see it at like a local game store, they want more than MSRP. So like, I'm kind of cheap when it comes to buying things. Like to get things on sale or things at MSRP. So like I
Return to Dark Tower.
Things if they're. Well, I bought that on Kickstarter, so
Kickstarter don't count.
A really good price, like
don't count,
yeah. Like I got it for much cheaper than what most people are probably paying retail for the Dark Tower. So.
All right, you get it.
So, no, I'm with Daniel though. It's like I don't have any Lorcana yet, and I desperately want to get a couple of decks of it to play it, but I am not paying more than retail MSRP. Like, nope, not doing it. I'll wait. If I can find it in the store, I find it in the store. If not, then I just won't play it.
So Target's the place to really be looking for it.
Yep.
Because they seem to get a lot more quantity, and they get the troves, and they get like the booster packs, and they get the decks.
Yeah, they've had a good relationship with Ravensburger.
Oh yeah. Like I was gonna say, Walmart usually just gets like booster packs and like the decks and maybe gift sets. But Target's like the place to be looking.
Now, what about Alex?
Like,
Alex, right? Your daughter Alex?
Yeah,
Alex the Rogue?
Yep, Alex.
Yep. Has she played it with you? What are her thoughts?
She has not. I had my wife play it, and she liked it. I have another friend that played it with me, and he really likes it. So it's a really good game. It's like a lot of people compare it to Magic the Gathering and call it like MTG Light, but it's I'd say it's even lighter than MTG Light per se. Like it's very direct, very straightforward, easy to understand. Like there's no interrupts, like Magic the Gathering. Like you can interrupt someone's turn by casting.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's just like it's your turn. It's your turn. No one's doing anything.
We could put a time clock on that. We could put a chess clock on that.
Yep.
It seemed more like Pokemon Go level or Pokemon level than Magic level.
Yeah.
All right. So I asked you about Lorcana. You called in, talked a little bit about Return to Dark Tower. What other topics do you have for us today? This is probably the most call-in show we've had in a little while. I'm loving this. Like Rob's gone, and the calls are flowing in.
That's it. It's all Rob's fault.
Nobody calls because they see his mug.
Yeah, I hosted my very first board gaming event a couple weekends ago.
I saw pictures of that. I think you put some videos up of an event you did. What was the name of the event? It didn't sound like
Go ahead. What's that?
It didn't sound like it was tied to you. I thought you were attending. I didn't know you put it on. What was the name of the event?
Yeah, so it's called the Tabletop Adventure Game Fest. And so it was hosted by my private practice, the Healing Road LLC. And so it was to promote mental health awareness and the importance of play, because as a counselor, I understand that play is important, not just to children, but even to adults. And so the proceeds to that actually went to reducing some of the cost of therapy sessions for the clients and families I work with over the holidays.
That's gorgeous. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had a ton of support from board game developers. Like there was a huge long list of contributions of the things that I got. Like I had 150 items just to give away or silent auction. Like it was just, there was so much.
How much energy and effort went into setting that up? Like so I mean, a lot of us say, hey, I want to throw a game day together. I want to throw a small con or a retreat, right? Something like that. Tell us from your first person perspective, was it worth the amount of energy you put in?
I mean, like anytime I do something, I'm putting energy into it, right? Like that's just how I am. And so I'm not going to regret anything that the time I spent doing it. But man, it took a lot of time, took a lot of energy. And it wasn't just like me putting on just the event. Obviously, I went into the area, I was looking for sponsors in my local town, trying to get connected with people that want to be vendors, because I was looking for, like that mini con experience, like people there to sell, people there to play, things like that. And so it took a lot, but I learned a lot. And so like one of the things I try to do is incorporate like vendor spaces with providing tables and chairs and obviously the badge to get in, right? And so I learned that maybe I should just let them bring their own tables, because then I don't have to rent more tables unless they want to pay me for tables. It was a lot.
And you're in Warsaw. Is it Warsaw? Did I get that right?
Yep, Warsaw.
No, it is Indiana. Indianapolis hosts Gen Con. Does the reach of Gen Con, the notoriety,
the name recognition,
right, the recognition of gaming reach all the way to Warsaw, or are you an outlier in the hobby?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that are from this area that go to Gen Con. I know it is a lot of gamers here in this region. But there are like a lot of families that have no clue what, Gen Con is. So one of the things I also did is in the town of Warsaw on the third Friday of every month, they have like this thing going on by the courthouse. So I would rent a vendor space and I would set up tables with some of the games that were going to be donated or raffled off or whatever. And I'd let people spin a wheel for candy or a chance to get into the event for free, just to kind of really promote it. And like Gen Con's Games Library was the library I rented to come up for the event. And so I was promoting that as well.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Talk
about
I rented
that.
the Gen Con's Games Library.
Okay.
That sounds like a fun thing to do, just for like a game day with my friends.
Yeah, it's like they brought their small library, which was like 1,200 games or something. But they said their large library is like over 4,000. So
wow.
I would need more space.
If that guy Tom from Florida is listening, maybe he could figure out how to
load
rent
up the
out.
van and bring us a mini library for our monthly game day.
Yeah, right.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and so this is the same library that if you went to Gen Con, it's the one in Lucas Oil Stadium where you can just sit down and play. You pick a game off a shelf and play it. It's the same people, same company that runs it.
That's pretty interesting.
I had no idea that was a thing.
So, like, how did you find out that they rent their library?
Right. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. How'd you find that out?
Yeah. So, like, there's another event that happens here that's put on by a local comic book and game store. And they call it, the name of the store is Chimps Comics, but the event's called the Lake City Game Fest because Warsaw is known as Lake City because there's just so many lakes in this region. And so it's Lake City Game Fest, and they are the ones that approached Chimps with the idea of running this event. And so I was talking to one of the owners, his name is Jeremy, at the Lake City Game Fest, and he talked about like how like I could literally rent the library to do a fundraiser, and like, okay, like gives me something to do. So then it's like he said, you might want to do it 6 months from now, so that way there's no confusion. There's people have plenty of time to be excited for the next one. And so like trying to communicate with them though was a bit difficult, just setting a date. So like I was intended to set 6 months in advance, but really in reality it was like 3 months by the time they confirmed with a date. So it didn't really put a crunch there.
And so when you rented it, they load the games in vans, bring it down, set it up, and then at the end of the game, but at the event they'll pack it up and take it back, and that's all part of the rental fee.
Yeah, they actually bring a huge trailer.
Yeah,
because they bring the shelves, like the plano shelves, and then the games and totes and stuff. Like they need to set up the day before and tear down the day after. So I had to get I rented a middle school, so we used the gymnasium of a middle school and set up with that starting at 5:30, 6 o'clock on Friday night. So they come in, they bring everything in, they set it up, have it ready by close to 10 p.m. 9:30 I think is when they stopped, and then 8:30 in the morning the next day is when the event started. People come in and play, and then as the night unfolds, they start to kind of pack up some things, but really it's that Sunday morning they just start really tearing everything down. So it was really neat to watch them set up and take down.
Yeah. This is fascinating to me for some reason. I'm like, I want to know now. I want to know how far out will they rent? Like if you're in Ohio, or like how close to Indiana you have to be, or like.
Well, I'm also wondering what's
the geographic range in which you can rent the Gen Con library?
Could we turn this into a curated library for rent? Like we can throw it all into my Toyota Sienna, and you can even hire me as a game guru. I don't know. It's another way to help support the show and pay for the streaming services.
It's not a bad idea. Oh, it's just fascinating. I never really thought about that. Like you think about so the Dice Tower library, they use it for the cruise, they use it for the retreat, they have the conference. So they have 3 uses a year for their board game library. And then Dice Tower West is really Tim McVillier's and his game stores library, which is huge anyway. But like after that, what do you do with this giant, 3,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 game collection, like rented out to other conventions and game days and stuff? That's like, I wonder how many other conventions do that, like with their game libraries.
My other thing that I'm considering is like, have you gotten an invoice for 2 blue tapestry cubes missing? $10. Has that come along? Like, what's the risk involved with renting a game library?
Yeah, and so I think it kind of depends on how you set it up with the library and stuff. So, but they had like what they called a triage table. Like anytime someone would bring a game back after it was borrowed, they'd make sure they went through it before they put it back on the shelf. And so that was handled that way. But like if something was missing, I don't know if they would have charged me or not. But I would feel obligated to pay something just because I'm renting their time and their energy and their games. But it can be pricey, depending on how they set it up, because they could charge, for the setup, they charge for like how many times a game possibly is rented out in a day. If it's a high volume, that they want to make sure that their games are treated nicely, but it could cost $2 or something per game checkout or something. But thankfully, because I was running a fundraiser, they didn't charge me that.
Nice. That's
Very
pretty cool,
nice.
though. That's so I like. That's awesome you called in, because that's like something new to like make my brain think about. Like just like all these game libraries and where do they go and can you rent them, and like that's like I don't know. That's just something I never even thought of as far as like in the gaming and the convention scene. Like all of these game libraries, what happens to them? They just sit in a warehouse somewhere all year, or are they being used elsewhere? So that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm planning on doing it again next year.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out successfully enough where you were going to consider to do it again.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's rare. A lot of times people will jump in, realize how tough it is, it doesn't quite work out, and then it just fizzles out.
Yeah. Well, like the whole point of it was to help the clients I'm working with, the families I'm working with, right? Because the holidays are coming, and that's when people struggle the most. And so, like, I want to try to help them, and so that's what made it worth it. We had 106 paying attendees at the event. And so that's quite a bit for a first time small little event.
That's pretty cool. Especially, Christmas, like you said, the holiday time is, you have to choose between buying presents and putting food on the table, or, seeking mental health assistance. Like now that helps take the burden off people, which is very cool.
Which is probably one of the most stressful times of the year for most families.
Oh yeah. electric bill's high, like up here really, because it's, like 3 degrees all winter long. It's not like negative 3 degrees. And so like we have high electric bills, high gas bills in the wintertime. And that can cause a lot of stress to families, especially if they're trying to go ahead and provide food, but let it, get the gifts for their kids and things. And so it's just a way of saying, hey, I recognize this and I don't want you to go without.
That's great to hear. Well, hopefully we'll, if you're willing to, which you've been a friend of the show. We met in person. I met your family in person when you came down to Florida. Next, I had no idea you were doing it. Next time we can set up a date, have you on the show early enough where you can use it as content to help promote. Talk about the setup, get the we can talk pre-planning and what you're planning to do, what events are going to happen, and hopefully we can help you promote it.
Awesome.
I know we're not in Warsaw. No, we're not in
okay.
in Indiana, but I think we can get you some more content on the internet with those tags. That way, some people can see it.
Yeah, and Warsaw's only like a flight away.
I do want to go to Indian. I want to go to Gen Con. Like that is a thing. But I'm more of a driver. I'm not. Maybe I need some mental health to talk about my fear of flying.
Carlos, don't fly.
I drove 20 was it 22 hours straight from St. Louis to Tampa just to go see Jamie Stegmaier.
Crazy.
I'd rather drive than fly.
No, Gen Con is a must. You got to go back to Gen. You got to go to Gen Con. I need to get back to Gen Con. Yeah.
My first year that I planned to do it was the year of COVID. It ruined all of it. I had tickets, we had hotels, cars ready to go. We were going to road trip it up there, and COVID ruined it for me. Thanks for bringing back bad memories. I'll call you, Daniel.
We can talk about it later.
I'll talk with you later about Hey, let the folks at home know where they can find your gaming content and also mental health services. Like let them know.
So like for checking out my channel, it's the Christian Adventure Gamer on YouTube. You can also search me on Facebook. If you live in the state of Indiana, I can provide mental health services. My private practice is called the Healing Road LLC, and you can also find that on Facebook as well.
We appreciate you continuing to make this a call-in show. We thank you for calling in, and as always, wish you the best.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, Daniel.
Bye.
It's officially a call-in show, Wayne.
I know, like with 3, 4.
Yeah, no Rob, and it's just back-to-back calls from like 9 o'clock on. Keep it going, folks. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name, where you're calling from.
In case of a fast pickup, we ask you to let us know that you're not a voicemail.
What?
That was weird.
What'd you do?
I don't know.
So, games played. What have you been playing lately, man?
Games played. I played Flamme Rouge.
Okay.
I've played Memoir 44. Got it to the table, baby.
Oh, there you go.
I've been meaning to get Memoir 44 to the table, and I know it's very meta reasons. Very meta. I cannot have Memoir not on my top 20 list. Like I just can't go the year.
No, that makes sense.
Without it's supposed to be my favorite game. And I'm going to be like, I haven't played it in a year?
It's been 10 months and I haven't played Dune Imperium yet this year. So I got to play it. Got to play Rococo.
And time is running out.
It is.
We had doctor's visits today, me and Mrs. C. And, we're talking like 4 weeks before baby comes.
Ooh.
And so that'll be like early, mid-November. So at that point,
they got holidays, which is gonna be hard on gaming.
So they will. Like right now, I'm like, okay, what are the games I love? Because this is my first time doing a top 20 list.
Yes,
y'all have been with
official. This is now like an official Beans of Dice thing.
Right, like I've never done a top anything list. I've always struggled with the idea of racking and stacking my games. I can't go to the end of the year and not put Memoir somewhere on that board. Well,
number 20.
That board on the floor over there in the corner.
Put it right at number 20.
Oh no, heck no. Oh, it's flying to just principles.
Look,
just by principle.
Kyle jumping in. I hadn't played Spirit Island in 2 years, so he's glad he got it played. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw it show up on his top 20 list in our Discord message. Check out the Discord, the top 20 list. You can post your own.
And I think that you hit the nail on the head, though. It's like I'm looking at call coming in.
Should we try it again?
Yeah, let's do it. Beans
and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Chris from Austin again.
Hey, it worked this time. Welcome back.
I don't know what happened last time.
That was weird. Some weird recording came on. It said you were AI.
I know.
You weren't a real person.
That wasn't me. I don't think that was me because it went to voicemail when I called.
What you got?
Well, I was going to ask you guys. There was another topic that I wanted to talk about. I didn't realize we were going to talk about Nietzsche that long, but I wanted to say it's the apiary is what I wanted to talk about for a little bit because I did pre-order apiary as a Stonemaier champion, so I got it for $56 for free shipping.
Yeah.
I heard the lines in Essen were insane.
Oh, really?
The lines in...
Oh, really?
Like, they actually... I listened to the Board Games Insider podcast while they were in Essen. So this is Stephen Bonacore, Ignacy Trevicek, and the guy from the Board Game Dice Tower News.
Yeah, forget his name.
I forget his name. Anyway, they were talking about how they had to move that whole line to a different hall. That's how long the apiary line was getting. And I just did not believe it. Like I was a little stunned because I don't know. That one's not at the top of my list. I am a champion, so I knew I could have got it.
It was like, actually, I thought it was sub 50 because it was like the first week it was on sale and then you got your champion discount on top. So it was like $48 or something like that. Plus
I think it's 49, but then they add tax. I think it's the tax gets it over 50 or something.
Tax gets you,
yeah.
So, like, what is, apiary has been brought up a few times, and I don't think any of the hosts on the show, I don't think any of us are like chomping at the bit to get it. What is it for you, Chris? And you're the salesman. What you got? Jamie paid you to call in.
I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi games. I typically like, nature games too, but it's the sci-fi thing that kind of intrigues me about it.
Okay.
But the thing that I like most about it is the worker bumping and that your workers have levels. They go up to level 4. And each time they go up, they get stronger and they give you more benefits. And then after level 4, they hibernate, which gets you another benefit that's really powerful. And so there's no blocking. But then if you go where someone else is, they get their worker back. So you're helping them out so they don't have to do a recall action. So I find that fascinating. I like it in Century, A New World by Emerson Matsushi, his third game in the series. He has that worker bumping mechanism, and I just really enjoy it. So, and I also like there's a little queen you move around, and you're able to get up little abilities as you're traveling this queen ship, and you're all basically traveling together in this little queen ship. So there's a cooperative element to that where it benefits kind of everybody a little bit. And so I don't know, there's a hodgepodge of mechanisms, and then you have your player boards that are all unique. So it's got asymmetry, which I like in games. And you get your own player board that's unique to you. And then as you get new abilities throughout the game that are unique to you as well. So you become very asymmetric as the game goes on as well. So those are all the things that kind of intrigue me about it.
Things that you talked about that stand out for me, and then I'll let Wayne jump in. We looked at each other. I got it first.
No, it's all good. No,
that stand out for me. The comments that I want to have on what you said. The player experience piece, the positive player experience focus, like that the Stonemaier thing. And I've always said I like it. I always felt like his focus is to have positive play experiences. I like it, right? I also like some negative play experiences. I also like some little bit of cutthroat. But because that cost benefit analysis is going to be hard for me. Deciding if me taking that one extra action, but giving you back your worker was actually a net gain versus a loss.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do that math. Right. So I'm going to be like, oh, well, Chris, take your worker back. It's level 4 now. Enjoy. Right. And then you like, blakata. you get yourself a bunch of points and end up winning the game. That to me kind of hurts. Like, damn, if I wasn't so stupid in figuring this out, right? So that's my comment there. It's nice, it sounds nice, but it is kind of hard to figure out how to determine if it's worth doing that. And then the other piece is the asymmetry part. That part actually kind of scares me. So like the positive player experiences draws me in. The asymmetry kind of scares me, and that's because of my tapestry experience. Like, one of the things that bothers me about gaming is retconning. Like, having to go back and errata or, right? So if I just bought tapestry off the shelf today at a flea market or something, how do I know that there's 100 downloads that I need to go find to make sure that I'm playing the Nomads the right way?
The balanced.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not saying that I don't trust Jamie, friend of the show. You know, I have not been shy about it. The guy helped sponsor the laptop that we're running this thing off of, period. Like, that's how friend of the show he has been. But man, like, when you really push the asymmetry, that imbalance can show through. And that's where I want to give it time to let that get played out in the world. Let the Chris's of the world play it multiple times, provide that feedback, and then I can come in when the new expansion comes out with the new printed factions or the new asymmetric powers that are modified.
So I think what I've seen though is the asymmetry in this game is far less impactful than tapestry.
Yes.
It's just like a one little thing that your little group does. My entire thing was this game looked cool. I like the theme. You know, bees in space, right? It's kind of cool. But I always go back to, I'm at the point in my game collection where like I have 400 or 500 games, and I'm like, I don't have any shelf space left. I have no shelf space left. Excuse me. Say that 3 times fast. And so it's like, if I got a game that's going to hit the game shelf, I got to take a game out at this point. And I have even like, it's funny, my kid's got his Lego. Like I got a folding table set up in my game room with my kid's Legos on the top that he plays with. And underneath are all the games that don't fit on the game shelf that I need to either try to get rid of or whatever. So it's like, I just can't buy any new games that I'll play. I'm totally like that in the whole try, buy, deny thing. I am almost 100% try. Even though I know the game's gonna be great, which is like I thanks to Chris, I went out and bought Journeys of Darwin. I broke my rule.
You and I both.
Yeah. But I knew though, based on I had seen several other people like the Game School podcast just were raving about that game like the week earlier. So I knew it would fit into that underdog, not underdog games. I think it was underdog games, the trekking the worlds, trekking through history, those kind of the educational game that I want for my kid. So I knew it was a buy, but like I looked at Apiary, I watched like 10 different reviews of it, and the game looks really cool. I'm gonna wait to play it first.
But just, like waiting for the but.
No, but I'm gonna wait to play it first. It looks cool, but I just can't. What is it gonna replace in my current game shelf? Where I'm gonna
I can get rid of Pendulum. I think everybody's okay with that.
I mean, I'll give you $10 for it because it was $12 on Prime Day.
That Pendulum hotness.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess Chris, the question is like you bought it, you're a champion. Was it was just straight up theme? You're still seem like you're in the mode of you're growing your game collection.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just have around 100 games, and then I have expansions too. So I think BGG says I have 137 games. So I'm well under your guys' collection size. So I have room. Now, I don't have a lot of shelf space. I only have 2 shelves, but they're big shelves. They're not just the normal Cadillac, shelves that you guys have. They're huge. I mean, they're very tall and wide. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of space left, but I cull every year. I either give away games or sell them. So I'm always keeping a relatively small collection. I don't just keep games and let my collection keep growing. It's restricted on size.
Right.
So that helps. I love sci-fi, like I said before, but one of the things what Carlos was saying about the asymmetry is I think from Tapestry. I think Jamie Stegmaier has learned from that experience. I think he's taken something away. I don't think there's going to be that problem. And like what's already mentioned is, there's not that much asymmetry compared to Tapestry, but they also have starting factions. So you could be this faction, and it says for your first game, we recommend these factions. And I think there's, 5 factions, 5 games. And so if you pick one of those factions, I heard from the reviewers that it's pretty easy to find a strategy and kind of go with it, where the other ones are a little more difficult. And you have to really focus really hard on one strategy. So I like the fact they give those opening factions that you can just play your first maybe game or two and get comfortable with it, and then you can branch out. I like that as well. And there's a lot of different boards you can play with. So it's just, I don't know, the variety, I think it's going to give a lot of high replayability for me.
We'll wait for your report back. We'll wait for you to give it the beans.
And
exactly.
Carlos and I will be upset we didn't buy it when it was like super cheap.
Well, in all fairness, the Stonemaier Champion thing was a gift last Christmas for me. So I didn't pay for it, and I'm not going to renew it, more than likely. I'm not planning to. So I'm also trying to get something out of it. I mean, I got one game last year, and then this will be my second game. So I've only bought 2 games in the 1 year I've been a champion. So I'm just trying to get my money's worth out of that membership too.
Yeah, I think I did. I did
Stonemaier
Champion. I did Stonemaier Champion, and I got Rolling Realms. I got a copy from Carlos of Rolling Realms, but I bought all the Rolling Realms packs until I gave up on that. I got Wingspan and then Viticulture. So I think probably worthwhile.
The box, right? The big box.
The big box of Viticulture, Wingspan Asia, and the nesting box. And unfortunately, I think it renewed this year, and I forgot to cancel it before it renewed. So, oh well, maybe I'm hoping that they have some. He maybe has another game next year that I want. No, it's not. And actually, to be honest with you, to me, it's like I'm now like even if I just renew over the next year or two, it's $20 a year or whatever it is. It's not that expensive, and it's supporting a game company that does a lot of great stuff, great games.
I think that does it right.
Does it right, supports the community. So if I'm not buying new games, I might as well support game companies another way. So,
well, cool. Good call out,
I'll definitely let you guys know. Yeah, Apiary. There's one other thing I was going to bring up too, just real quick. So about Navigator again. One thing I didn't mention.
Yep.
Is there's a pressure luck element to one aspect of scoring points in the game. You can go shrimp fishing, and in the bag there's crabs and shrimp. And if you get 2 crabs, you bust and you lose everything. And I think that's also what makes it stand out a little bit. It's got that pressure luck element. You can get up to 5 tokens when you do shrimp fishing. But like I said, you get 2 crabs, you lose everything. And each one is worth a point. So you can get up to 5 points in a turn when you do that. And I really like that because you just kind of reach into a bag and see what you get one at a time. And that's also a fun little element to the game.
I like push your luck mechanisms in games. I find that to be a fun catch-up mechanism. Like, I know I'm behind, whatever, I'm just going to go for it. If it all works out, it works out, and I'm back in the game.
And then the last thing I'll say about it is there's these in-game scoring conditions that you have to meet certain criteria. Like, say you have to have 3 crabs at the end of the game, or you have to have 4 shrimp. And if you do, you get 3 or 4 points. And I like that because as you go, you're kind of building your strategy. And then there's also cards that they're either in-game or they're points. You can just they're either special abilities or straight points. And those are dock cards. So when you go to a dock, everybody gets one of these cards. You either take straight points or you get this ongoing ability for the rest of the game that helps you get more points throughout the game. It's a special power. And that's also really fascinating to me, that choice between what power to take. So it's just got some interesting decisions for a lighter game.
Very cool.
And it's got that white background art that I like so much from Smartphone Inc. That minimalist.
Yeah, the artwork is very Takedo-like, which I love. It's very stylized. It's very cool.
I mean, there was a few folks in the chat that talked about their interest in it and or their love of the game. So you touched a common
chord.
thread with other
Yeah.
viewers of the show. So it's Chris from Austin,
Well,
Texas, with the pulse.
Yeah, and then now
of
it's
Beans and Dice.
$24, which you mentioned. You guys are
Jeez.
gonna, everyone's gonna buy it. He doesn't have it now. It was $24 on Amazon Prime.
As soon as I saw that, I closed the window. Like, stop, because I know if I leave that window open and I keep seeing that, it's just
I'm gonna buy it. Yep.
make better choices. Because I am also like completely out of room. Like each week, I'm like, hey, who's coming over? So if it's like just Rob, okay, I only got to move like 2 bags to be able to make room for Rob to be here. If Wayne's here, okay, I got 6 other bags of games I need to move to the other room for the show. So,
I knew there was a reason why you weren't having me over more often.
because I am completely out of game room, and I don't call and I don't get rid of.
You need to though, man. Come on.
I do, but I like having these games for others to borrow.
Flea market on the 28th. We can get Pendulum and 10 other games out of your room.
But see, one day someone will be like, I do want to try Pendulum. I heard it was horrible. And I'm like,
go buy it on Amazon for $10.
Borrow it.
They can find a copy in Goodwill by then.
Yeah. They'll pay you to take it. Thanks again for calling in. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Have a good one.
See it. All
Yeah,
right.
man,
That was Chris from Texas.
You and I both need to just do a better job of culling. Like I have at least 10 or 15, I have at least 15, 20 games in my collection that I will never play again, and I could never sell at a flea market. Like even at like the Your Turn, I brought some, no one's gonna buy it. I really just need to bite the bullet and just give it to Goodwill. Like just get it out, because it's just holding up space at this point. Like no one's. I have this not Deadlands. I have this Walking Dead board game, and it's just bad. It's just bad. Like no one's gonna play it. It's crap. It's got like
based on the show or based on the comics.
It's like a mix. It's just done. Like it's bad. Like it needs to just go to Goodwill.
Speaking of bad and needing to go to Goodwill, Beans and Dice podcast. State your name. Where you calling from?
Hello and good evening, Carlos and Wayne. This is Nick, Rob, and Dan calling from New Orleans, Louisiana.
My man.
It is after 10 p.m. It is the Drunk Idiots from New Orleans call-in show now.
Listen, you beautiful men, you. Everything's fine. It's fine. We're doing great.
Any games played yet? Like reporting live from New Orleans.
Games are how many beignets beers have they had?
Beignets.
Many beignets. Although there are only 2 beignets left for the 3 of us. That came up already. That was an important discussion actually.
That's a new I Split You Choose game.
We did actually play. We started the whole trip this morning for our 7:20 a.m. flight. We were playing what was the game? Quicks.
Oh, that's a great one.
QWIXX or whatever.
Yeah, it's a tiny pocket game. You can get it at Target. Yeah. They have a deluxe version. It's bigger. Robert and I have played it at many a pub.
That's right. So we played that at the Tampa airport this morning. We were playing that by 6:30 a.m. or something. While you slackers were sleeping, you know.
I was
It
up.
was good.
We were working.
Since then, though, there's been a very involved game of resource management where we keep paying money and getting alcohol. It's a good resource management game. So it's been good.
I think BJ from Board Game Gumbo had said there's an open container law in New Orleans. Where if you have a container of alcohol and it's not open, you must buy another one and immediately open that one.
There you go.
That's the open container law in New Orleans.
Rob did regale us with a good couple stories about how Carlos enjoys the open container law here, and enjoys walking around with the open container in front of police officers.
My kids still bring that up. My kids will still remind me of that trip. I brought them with me. And the laughs we had.
It really wasn't the alcohol in the drinks. It was the 14 pounds of sugar in the drinks that was making Carlos loopy. It was getting the diabetes.
You mentioned the sugar. So this is my first trip to New Orleans, and that has definitely been a takeaway. I'm intrigued by the things that are culturally significant to downtown New Orleans here. the daiquiris and the hurricanes, and it's really just like
Just pure
fruit
sugar.
punch that has alcohol in it. Yeah,
And the
Dude, I
14
drank-
pounds the 14 pounds of powdered sugar you get with your 2 beignets.
And your Cafe du Monde.
Cafe du Monde.
I tell you what, after having those daiquiris in New Orleans, my wife had to drive the majority of that. It was great. So thank you, Mrs. C, for being the designated. But even when I got back to Tampa, like I sought out every daiquiri I could find for like the next 2 weeks until like my blood type was, syrup. And then when my blood sugars went crazy, then I realized, okay, I need to bring this back down because literally it's
I like my limbs.
it's like high C, it's Hawaiian punch
sugar,
and
man.
alcohol.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are in fact coming to you live from a bar here in New Orleans. We are out on the town in the French Quarter. Yep, right,
Nice.
2 blocks off of Bourbon Street. So we actually have a little bit of a chill atmosphere here, which is kind of cool. We're gonna go back into the thick of things. Dan really wants to get a piece of pizza. 10 p.m. It's only 10. It's only what is it? 10:20 our time. No, 9:20 our time.
We did that. Robert and I did that last year. We picked up a huge amount of pizza to take back to the hotel room because that's pretty much the only option was frozen daiquiris and pizzas.
I do a different kind of New Orleans. I'm the Oyster House and then Frenchman Street. That's where I'm at.
There you go. Yeah. So we did for dinner. We did some good Southern cuisine. We had like shrimp and grits. We had pork belly, catfish. So I've walked by a number of oyster houses. They look good. No, but we're excited. We are excited are we excited for the board game con, Sobo? Yeah, we're excited for the board game con. Talk about board game.
See, Robert and I, we played Orleans while in Orleans. Is there any theming going on this trip? Did anybody plan ahead? Anybody gonna go play maybe some Memoir 44 at the World War II Museum there in New Orleans?
Rob has pointed out the World War II Museum and told us stories of how excited you were. Yes, we did talk about
great
Memoir
museum.
44. We actually almost went to a restaurant this evening called Tableau. The name of the restaurant is Tableau. We almost went there because it's called Tableau, because it's like, it's like Tableau building. Like maybe that's the thing.
Play some Empires of the North right there in Tableau.
Right. Yeah. Other than that, there hasn't been too much theming. We did point out that one of the crossroads of Bourbon Street is Orleans Street, and that we could play Orleans on Orleans. So that's obviously good. But other than that, there hasn't been too much board game nonsense yet.
All right, save that for tomorrow. I hear you guys are going to be meeting up with Berkey of Game Toppers, the tabletop empire.
Bar noise.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Listen,
All good.
It's our show. It's a live experience here in the bar.
It's how we game.
Yes, I think we're gonna head out there and meet those guys for Friday night games and have a good time. Also, what was I gonna say?
And has Dan brought back his games he's acquired at Essen to play this weekend?
Dan, did you bring anything from Essen? Gay sauna. Yeah, gay sauna. It's a real game. It's a real game.
Yes, it is.
Apparently, the game is actually pretty good. This is the show. Hey, listen. No, I remember. I had another thing. The kids and I got a board game. Are you still with me?
I'm still, yeah.
We are still with you.
Yeah. All right. Dan and Rob are wondering why you even asked them.
I walked into that because I wanted to see Carlos's face on camera.
Oh, you walked into it all right. You enjoyed that. I know you did.
I did.
My face is like maroon now. I mean, it's not red. It's more of a maroon.
Okay, real quick, bring up on the screen. This is a good one. A new family favorite. Me and the kids played it. Totem, 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 like it's spelled like it sounds. It's a game of basically kind of encouragement and bolstering, where players take turns dealing out cards, which is going to be like an animal and a trait. And the animal represents like an attribute that you would have, like being brave or being steadfast or being loyal. And then the traits basically double down on those things. And the other players take turns drafting cards that they think match the current player. So like I'll be dealt 6 cards by my son Landis, and I have to pick one of those 6 cards that I think best represents a trait that he has, and so are the other players. And then you secretly hand your cards to the player, right? And then they have to pick the one that they think best represents them. And they order them. So let's say there's 4 players total. You're going to get 3 cards, right? One from each of those 3 players. And they're all going to be good things about you. And so they're going to be good things that other people see in you. And then you rank them in order from least to most trait that you see in yourself and flip them over. And whoever chose the one that you agree with the most is technically the winner. But the point is that as you flip them over, each person says why they thought that trait represented you best. So that they make their case, basically. So it's like a feel-good game where you're like basically telling someone, the current player, good things about themselves, and then trying to convince them that what you chose was actually the most representative of them. That's a good thing. So it's a neat game. The kids had a ton of fun. You make jokes, you tell stories. It's a good time. So Totem, Totem.
But I don't want to talk about my emotions. Like I don't want to get that deep into feelings.
I would have brought it up on BGG, but there's literally 15 games with the name Totem, and I clicked through 5 of them, and it wasn't clearly not either of those.
Right.
So
that's fine. But no, it's a tiny little box. My dad actually got it for me and the kids to play. So it was a good time. So there you go. That's our one board game that we played. It's a tiny box. It literally is a box that. Oh my god. Am I at a bar or what? Guys, I'm on a call. Okay.
like shh. Keep
Tampa man shot in New Orleans.
These guys. The whole box contains like 100 cards. That's the whole game. It's 100 cards. There's like 50 animals and 50 traits. And then, so you do 2 rounds. You do the animals first, and then you do the traits. And so at the end of the game, it's cool. At the end of the game, you end up with 3 totems that have been built for you by the other players, right? Animal trait combos. So you can keep track of who chose what animal, who chose what trait. And then you look down and you're like, oh, well, these are like the things that my family see in me. And that's cool. So it was a good feel-good game for the kids. There you go. That's
definitely sounds like an Oben type game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
It sounds like some of your
Really
dad to kid. Makes me wish I had a dad. Mr. Oben, thank you so much for reporting in live from New Orleans.
Okay. Yes, and Rob and Dan say that they miss you a lot.
I don't believe that.
We're missing.
They told me to finish my beer so we can go to the next bar. That's actually what they said, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, good night. Be safe.
You guys have a
Be
great
safe
night. Yeah.
and report back Sobo. We want to hear about that next week.
We'll do.
We'll talk to you then.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Very nice of them to call.
Yeah. I called it though that Rob wouldn't be the one to call in because that put that on the Discord. I'm like, there's no way Rob's gonna call in. He's gonna be too drunk.
Yeah, because the question was
think
asked in the chat.
Is Rob giving? Yeah. Yep.
Rob is not giving an advanced Blood Bowl strategy lecture tonight.
but maybe next time. I think we can, if you go to a meeting at work and or you miss a meeting at work, people will volunteer you for things. I think since Rob's not here tonight, we could easily volunteer
Next
him
week.
for something.
Have him give the advanced Blood Bowl strategies, tactics. No, it sounds like you're having a good time.
Yeah, I wish I
tell
was
you what, man,
there.
I ate like a champ in
I love New
Louisiana.
Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans is definitely one of my favorite cities to visit. It's up there. The food, the drink, the atmosphere, it's right up there. My wife and I enjoy the World War II Museum, the seafood, the nightlife. It's not just Bourbon Street. Like I said, like I go to Frenchman Street. Frenchman Street is very much like the jazz, the blues music. It's not as like crazy frat party like Bourbon Street is. So it's definitely a different atmosphere, but fantastic music and art and things like that. So love New Orleans.
It was great because my mom called while we were over there. Classic Latina, classic Catholic mom. You need to pray over the hotel. There's a lot of demons in New Orleans. Lot of espíritus. And it was creepy. Like Emmy, Rob's daughter, wanted some like shrunken head or something from some store, and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm not stepping in there. I don't know what kind of demons are in here."
The voodoo store, and
right? They got some creepy stuff out there.
Go to the cemeteries above ground. It's very cool.
We just watched the Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus.
How was that?
It was actually really good. Set in New Orleans.
Okay.
It was set in New Orleans, so it had that creepy, New Orleans vibe going. With the whole spirits thing, so it was a great watch with the family. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Ahsoka was one of the main characters.
Rosario Dawson.
Yes, so she played the mom in the.
Okay,
show.
very cool.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good.
New Orleans is definitely like one of the most haunted cities in America, I guess you could say. It's very creepy. Venice was also like that when I went to Venice. Because it's very old, it's on the water, and late at night walking through that city, you kind of feel creepy, right? You feel like sort of like there's something else going on here. That's not just
It was also driving in. You start to see the changes because you're going down into the bowl, right?
Right,
and then you start to see the cemeteries. Everything's above ground. All the coffins or they're all mausoleums. Like they're all above ground. Because of the water table. So it does get creepy. Like I remember my kids brought it up as we drove in, like, why are all the bodies above ground? Yeah. I'm like, ooh, that is creepy.
I'll take all the haunted tours and stuff like that. It's cool.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I like.
But you did do the World War II museum, right?
Oh man, it's
fantastic.
That was huge.
It is one of the best museums I've ever gone to.
And the introduction, like the
dog tags.
Yes, the and you go into a train, almost like Disney with their, Universal with their Hogwarts train,
right?
Where it's LCD screens for the windows, so it's almost like you're being drafted. You're jumping onto a train, and it's taking you to the war.
Yep.
And then, all the equipment in there, like I've seen Saving Private Ryan probably 100 times, but seeing a Higgins boat, an actual true to life Higgins boat, its actual size. It's so interesting. It's
pretty cool. Yeah, I think, and like, I don't know about you. So like when I went, I got a dog tag of a guy from the Pacific Theater. And so like when you go through the Pacific part of the thing, you're clicking on that. My wife got European theater, but she got Jimmy Stewart, like the actor Jimmy Stewart, who was a bomber pilot in World War II. And so I've said on the show many times, my wife's a big theater person and movies and like, went to acting school and stuff like that. So like
just connected.
It was like perfect timing. Like she got Jimmy Stewart, so she was like all into it. It was like it was such a good experience. So it was kind of cool how that you can. I think it makes it so personal because you go through the museum and everything is told through the eyes of the person that you have their dog tag, and you hear their voices or you hear their experiences or their kids' experience or their grandkids, and it's just super cool. Yeah, really.
The place is huge. The place is huge.
Yep.
Yeah, New Orleans, and the Benoits.
Beignets.
Oh my God, they're so.
I like it. They're good. It's a great city. If any of any listeners or viewers of the show, I think New Orleans is a place you got to visit. Nope.
It's still a call. This is the most call-in show we've had.
I like it
in like a month. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
This is Kyle from Chicago.
Keeping it a call-in show
there we
all the
go.
way to the very end. Our man Kyle from Chi-Town.
I told you I was gonna try to call in today.
I'm glad you
You
made
guys
it.
were so busy, I couldn't find time to call in.
Wayne and I were worried. We were chatting before the show in our little private DM chat, and we're like, "How's this gonna go? Like, do you think people will show up? Should we end it early?" Like, I was like, "Hey, we'll let the calls dictate it." And it's been back to back since we started the show at 9:00. So thank you for keeping it going.
I think the best move you could have ever done was to fire that dice hating, theme hating, Gloomhaven loving guy and just kick him out. Just kick him out of the state. I think that was brilliant. I think the show is better for it.
You hear that?
Got tired of hearing how every game. Yeah, got tired of hearing how every game is light.
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, I could keep going. I mean, I could spend the rest of your show just ranting about that guy. No, I actually, I was hoping you can indulge me. I have a question for you guys, a simple question, but if you allow me, I'll do a brief, quick, 3-story lead into it. Short. I'll keep it short. Keep it abbreviated.
Hey, the next 10 minutes of the show is all yours.
I've had some pretty good game nights recently. I've been feeling pretty enthusiastic about it. Let me just tell you about the 3 of them. Okay. So real quick, one was with some friends, non-gamer type, and I introduced them to Thunder Road Vendetta, and they had such a great time with that game. They were, for non-gamers, there was just the thrill of like the crazy things, the antics that were going on. They were hooting and hollering at the table. Every time a game ended, they're like, "Can we play that again?" And I'm like, "Sure." We played it 3 times in a row. It was fantastic. Had some very like exciting moments. Okay. Number 2, real quick. So then I started getting into some solo gaming, and I did Arkham Horror LCG, and I had a moment in Arkham Horror. I just brought it back to the table. I had a moment where I was facing a big baddie. I was getting my butt kicked. I was probably going to die. And in a last-ditch effort, I just fought the guy, and it was like one of those things where any sort of negative modification token that I took out of the bag, I was gonna lose. And so I just like, you know what? Let's just have at it, and let's just go for it. I won. I pulled a 0 token out. So it was like I beat him just barely. And I won. And I was like, I stood up. I was like, oh, and I had this like exciting moment, right?
He's all by himself in the kitchen. Like everyone's asleep.
Baby's asleep.
And well, the other one was the 3rd experience, which was another solo experience. I have Zombicide 2nd Edition, and I had picked up the Ghostbusters packs for that. And I hadn't really dove into those yet. So I decided to solo it, and just sort of like, if I'm going to introduce this to some friends or something, I'd like to kind of know the game, and soloing is a great way to learn the game. I had such a good time with it. I almost died again. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, right? He's going to kill me. I had my guys on the same space as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and the problem in that game is if the proton packs are range weapons, and if you fire a range weapon into a zone where a teammate is at, they can get hit by friendly fire. If you have any misses, they'll get hit, and he could die, right? And the only way to kill Stay Puft is to have a 3 damage successful hit from 2 teammates within the same round. It's called Crossing the Stream.
Very themey.
So I'm like, how?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even, like, I'm not going to be able to kill this guy, because what if I kill Winston, or what if I kill Ray? Winston and Ray were in the same space as the Stay Puft Man, and there was 5 zombies there. So if you try to escape, the problem is you have to have an action to move out of the zone, and an action for every zombie or enemy character that's in that zone. If I have 5 zombies and a Stay Puft guy, I don't have 6 actions. each character is only given 3, and then you can bonus up to an extra action. So you only have 4 actions per character. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I can't start shooting at these guys. I'll kill my own dude. And then when you kill your own
now,
dude,
let me remember second edition, which I have, and some of the expansions. I think if one person dies, game over, right?
Correct.
There is no player elimination anymore, so you can't risk it.
Yeah. No, I was like, well, I can't even sacrifice a guy to save the world, like, this sucks. And so I was about to pack it up. I'm like, I guess this is it. There's no way I'm going to win this, right? And then I look and I realize Egon and Venkman are standing on the sides just watching in horror as their buddies are about to get smushed. Venkman has an ability, a taunt ability, that it's a free action, and his character's turn was next. So I did this free action of taunt, where basically it'll draw the attention of all the zombies and stuff in a zone, and they'll start coming towards him, and they ignore any other characters as they're coming towards Venkman. So he basically distracts them. So I did that. I moved Stay Puft Marshmallow Man over, blasted him with 2 of the Ghostbusters, and blew him to smithereens. Almost lost it. I had 1 action left to roll some dice, and if I didn't hit it, I wouldn't cross the stream. I rolled the dice, and I nailed it on that last opportunity. Once again, I'm hooting and hollering in my basement, just going, I did it! I blew him up! I'm freaking out.
That's awesome.
So the point of this whole story is I wanted to ask you guys, have you guys had any game that you can remember that gave you those stand-up, hoot and hollering, just sort of exciting moments? And if you could regale any fun stories, if you have any.
Wayno.
Oh man, I mean, it's almost too many to think of, right? Over 23 years of gaming, right? That's just always the best part. And I think I'll go back to Carlos. The whole rationale for starting this show was kind of based on those stand-up moments, right? So take away what I think.
Oh no, for me, it's always going to go back to Twilight Imperium 4th edition, well, 3rd or 4th, either one.
No
but
kidding.
TI, and the reason why TI, I have never. Okay, my number 1 most played tabletop game is probably Blood Bowl. X-Wing followed by Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl gives me all those feelings, but skipping that because that's like a miniatures game. Going to TI4. Nothing ramps up the emotional investment of a game like having been at the table for 15 hours with those 7 other people. There's something about spending 15 plus hours with 7 other human beings in conflict that takes all those emotions and really makes them feel real, right? Like most of the time it's simulation, it's conflict, we're abstracted. But, after the 11th hour of sharing a small space and chili dogs with a bunch of your favorite, friends, things get personal, like really personal. Like you flying your capital ship near my home world when I'm so close to eking out maybe a second place spot in this game becomes really personal. So those are the most stand-up, happy and angry games that I've ever played have all tended to be in that TI, that Twilight Imperium space.
Oh wow!
It's if you haven't done it, and I know Robert, he doesn't poo-poo it. He just is not willing. There was one time I did it, I think 6 times in a 2-month period. Over a 2-month period, 6 weekends we spent playing Twilight Imperium.
That's a lot.
Robert said no more. He hasn't played in years.
But I think even the Axis and Allies or the Risk or even Memoir, you're right. You need this one roll and you need to roll all 6s. You need to roll all 1s, or you need to not roll a 3 or something like that. Those kind of especially I think that's where the thematic games get you, because that you need that the dry Euro. It's there's not as many of those stand up moments where it's you're on the precipice of losing or you're on the precipice of winning and there's a die roll or something to fate that determines the outcome. I think that's where you get a lot of those stand-up moments. I think a pandemic. I can remember a lot of games of pandemic where like you're getting to the end of that deck and you're like, okay, if we draw one more blue, we'll have enough to solve it. As long as the next one isn't the pandemic, then we've got it. But if it is, we're done, right? And you're like you're like slowly turning over the card because you're like, please no, yes, okay, it's not the pandemic. Those kind of things are always good stand-up moments. I remember a ton. I had a stand-up moment earlier this week. My brother was in town. First time in a little while, and we busted out Axis and Allies D-Day, which is like, to me, one of the best versions of Axis and Allies because it's just the Battle of Normandy. It's Americans and British versus the Germans, and it's just the Battle of Normandy. You have the beach landings, and we were all speaking German. That's my brother beat me. I could. You have 10 turns. That's why I like it because you have 10 turns as the Americans and British to land on the beach and take Caen, Saint Lo, and Cherbourg, the 3 cities in that area of France. And the Germans just have to hold it. And so I took Cherbourg, I took Caen, and I had to go to Saint Lo. And my brother just pulled all his tanks back, and I just couldn't crack it. And it came down to like one roll where it was like, I had all of my troops charging in, and he just rolled all ones and slaughtered me. So it was just like done, right? I guess we're all speaking German now, But that's those kind of games.
You stepped your way back home.
He crushed me. So,
but you know what?
It makes for a great story, though. Like the moment.
But Kyle, there are detractors, Robert, who will say that, oh well, we might as well have just rolled one die instead of having played this whole game, because that's really all it came down to, right? You hear these detractors, right? But my thought is this: if two evenly matched people, right, who all made good decisions throughout the majority of the game, mostly made good decisions, this is why it came down to one die roll.
Yeah.
Had one person just been not up to par, not up to spec to hang in there to the very end, the game would have been easily over early. The fact that we came down to one die roll is a testament to the quality of both of our play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that journey just made that die roll more impactful. It's the journey. It's the experience. It's when you're saying, well, it just came down to one die roll, you're just too focused on that ending. It's like, well, what about what led up to that?
Yeah, because there's not too many times I can think of, like, as much as I love Castles of Burgundy, and it's like my number one game of all time, it's very rare to have a stand. Although I'll say Dune Imperium, we had a stand up moment. The one game we played, and Rob thought he had it all won, right? And he was like, I'm at 11 points or whatever it is. And then I flipped the card over at the end game scoring and go, that gave me 3 more points and put me one ahead of him. So you can have some of that in your more kind of Euro-y type games, but you have to be able to have that sort of, I planned out the whole game to have this card at the end to be able to play to get 3 more points at the end of the game based on having 10 spice left over, right? Which is kind of 1 in 100 occurrence that you're going to be able to get the spice required, the actual card, and then be within 3 points of winning.
But now from now on, Robert, much like a kick dog, whenever he gets close to the end of a game and he sees somebody hoarding 10 spice, he's going to think he's got that card. I can't trigger the end of the game yet because he's got that card.
Right. Those are, and I think that's what, like Kyle, if you remember, like Carlos said, that the whole sort of impetus for the show was after a game night, any game night, you always stand around for another 35, 40 minutes in the parking lot of the game store or in your house. The Southern goodbye, you're going to say goodbye 10 times before you leave, right? Like talking about the game, going back over, well, what did you hear? What did you there? And it's like, well, if we're spending 45 minutes to an hour after a game night talking about the games, why don't we do it on a show and make it a thing? And that's what's so awesome about this, right?
Oh yeah. And I think that's what I love about watching the show. Is I love that you guys do recreate that sort of feeling of those post-game night conversations, and it's fantastic.
Well, hopefully, I can convince you to find a way to table TI up north.
Yeah, well, one of these days, I almost had an opportunity in Los Angeles. My buddy had it, and then he sold it off. But they played it once, but I couldn't make it to that game day. I wish I could have. They did like an 8-hour. Just plowed through it. So
There's still people I haven't talked to because of a game of TI. Like I
Oh.
don't even say hi to them.
That's diplomacy for me, man. Diplomacy and supremacy. Those are the two games that we played during college and grad school that there are people that would not talk to us after that.
It's a great way to fortify friendships and also like cement, some enemies.
Yeah.
It's
I think
15 hours. Like it was a 15-hour
I don't know.
game.
That's a long game. That's like it should be an 8-hour game. That shouldn't be a 15-hour game.
Yes, Nick Oben agrees.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think. It's funny how they all kind of those stand-up moments just kind of blend together over time, but only.
It's like, that person. It's when you get with that other person, and then you have that conversation, right? And do you remember that one time and I love that because you make those moments with individual different people. We'll never forget the moment where, one of our friend of the show let one rip on live stream after the 11th chili dog of the evening on a live stream game of TI. Like,
okay.
I got a text from William while we were playing. Damn, we heard that. So every time I see that person, like, remember that one time we were playing TI4 and you let one rip right on camera? It's those moments that you share with people individually that you tend to only really have with like family, and that's what board games does for us. So hopefully one day I'll be able to see a Cubs game in Wrigley and get to share a table space with Kyle one day.
Or, just to let Kyle know that Dice Tower East tickets go on sale in a week or two. Just saying.
Road trip.
Hey, that's tempting in itself.
It's Orlando, man.
How many more dogs are you gonna have to buy?
Yeah. No, it's bring the family to Disney for a day or two, and then
who's gonna watch the dog?
That's true.
Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Have a good night, Kyle.
Wayne, we were worried we wouldn't have content. We've been chatted for a little while, trying to come up with some topics to try to fill the dead space.
We did. We didn't get to any of the topics.
No, not one bit. I think Kyle's right. We fire up.
No. I just big thank you to the community for stepping up and calling in. We were down a couple of people last few weeks. We were down some folks in the normal community here, so it's good to hear people calling in. I think that's good. I'm looking forward to hearing a report from Sobo. That might be in the cards next year. I think I'm gonna have to figure that out because I think the wife loves New Orleans and loves board gaming, so I think we could swing that next year. Just got to figure it out ahead of time.
Last year was great because it was right in spring break. Like it was perfect. It fit the Cabrera family perfectly.
It did, yeah.
This year being during a school year and the final race of my season of what I watch. I watch endurance racing. This is the finale for the season. We have 3 teams all within 5 points of each other.
Damn,
for the championship at the top level. Right, this is going to be for all those reasons. I am going to be at Atlanta instead of Sobo.
Yep.
But it's okay. We'll always have Dice Tower.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I am buying the day it's on sale. I'm getting tickets for me, my wife, and my kid. So
yeah, I'm talking about bringing my mom. Like that's part of the conversation Mrs. C and I have been having is bringing my mom so we have someone that can watch the kids so we can do the same.
Nice.
Get in some gaming ourselves. That gets us to the end of the show, folks. That was everything. We still had some topics left over, but these aren't things that we can't bring up. These are things that we can bring up next week. Nothing of drastic import for this week. No podcast this week, but it doesn't mean there won't be one next week.
There will be one next week. Yeah, I'll get with Mitchell and we'll get one recorded. But my brother in town and him preparing for Sobo. It wasn't in the cards this week, but we'll get there next week.
Rich asks, yes, I'll be in Braselton. I'm going to be actually Ron Fraser, which is why I'm wearing a shirt, is going to be 20 minutes from Braselton. So I'm not sure if I can meet up and shake a hand and say hi, but I will be in Braselton, Georgia for the finale of IMSA's Petit Le Mans 10-hour race, and I'm bringing my copy of Heat. And I'll have pictures of me playing Heat on the hill next to the Sonny's Barbecue Shack at the top of the hill on of the main it's not a hairpin, but it's almost like a carousel type turn. Anyway, for you racing fans, I know Rich is one of them. My man. Very nice. So, yeah, I'm excited. I got to get up early. That's it.
Nice.
That's it. We're done.
Right.
Any announcements, Wayne?
No, other than just, please make sure you give a like to the show here. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do so. Give that a like, follow, and make sure you get on the Discord. We got tournaments, BGA, in the news, deals and sales, all kinds of stuff. So please join us, speak up. And if you haven't called in, please do, because I started as a call-in person too. So you never know. So
that seems to be how it works. Folks, please continue to pray for us and our families. Greatly appreciated, and may God bless you and yours. Thank you for watching. We will catch you all next week.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Good night, everybody.